Okay, so moving on to the anterior pituitary. This is just sort of an overview figure that shows the anterior pituitary. We'll be talking about these details in the next slide. But the main things I want to start off with are, first of all, that the anterior pituitary makes 6 hormones. So these are the 6 hormones down here that are made by the anterior pituitary, okay? 5 of these hormones are what we call trophic hormones, okay? So a trophic hormone is a hormone that controls the release of other hormones, right? So what is going to happen with these 5 hormones, so all of them except for prolactin here, is that they're going to travel through the bloodstreams to their respective targets, okay? And once they reach their targets, they're actually going to trigger release of additional hormones from those targets, okay? On top of that, these 6 hormones, they're coming from the anterior pituitary, but the control of their release is actually controlled by trophic hormones coming from the hypothalamus up here, okay? So let's take a closer look at that. All right, so what we have going on here is, this is a diagram that shows how hormones are released from the anterior pituitary. We're starting up here at the hypothalamus, just like we did with the posterior pituitary, but the process of release is different, okay? So what we are starting with is, we are starting with these neurons here. These neurons are going to make trophic neurohormones, right? So neurohormones are, yeah, I talked about what neurohormones are. So neurohormones, those guys are going to enter the bloodstream right here. Okay, so we have a capillary bed right here that these neurohormones are going to enter into, okay? Once they're there, they're going to travel a very short distance to this other capillary bed down here in the anterior pituitary. Once they reach the anterior pituitary, they're going to act on the endocrine cells here in the anterior pituitary, okay? And these cells in the anterior pituitary are going to release those 6 hormones that you just saw in the previous slide, right? So those guys are going to go into the general circulation and they're going to reach their target organs. One thing that I just want to quickly point out about this is that this whole system of capillaries is what we call a portal system, okay? So you don't really have to remember that right now. It's just like a little thing to file in your head for later. We're going to be talking about portal systems some more when we talk about the cardiovascular system. Okay, all right, and now I want to pose this question to you. Where is the integrating center in this system? So take a look at this diagram. Try to see if you can figure out where the integrating center is. Go ahead and pause and figure that out. Okay, so I don't know how many of you figured this out, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. We have, in this diagram, we have 2 integrating centers, and then we actually have a 3rd integrating center like further out somewhere else in the body. Okay, so our first integrating center is the hypothalamus right here. Because we have neurons, these are going to be receiving input from some other source, and then they're going to make a decision about what to do, about whether to release this hormone or not and how much, okay? So that's our first integrating center. Second integrating center is right here, the anterior pituitary. These endocrine cells in the anterior pituitary are doing that same thing. They're taking in an input and they're sending out a command, okay? And then our third integrating center, for at least in the case of those 5 hormones, we have a 3rd integrating center somewhere else in the body. That's what I'm representing by moving my laser pointer like this, okay? Somewhere else in the body. that's going to be the third integrating center, is the target organ. Okay, so like the ovaries, or the, what else was there? The adrenal cortex, kidneys, I think. Was the kidneys one of them? Those are the third integrating center. Okay, and just to remind you, or just to make a connection with what you saw before, what you're looking at here is basically represented schematically over here, right? So we've got the hypothalamus, which is this integrating center right here. Then we have the anterior pituitary, which acts as this integrating center right here. And then we've got that target organ, which is this integrating center right here. Okay, so hopefully that's clear to you.